Fred DiDomenico, and this is one of the training YouTube videos for Mastering Communication Academy. The next webinar is going to be on March 6th. So in the next month, today's February 10th, 2017, we're going to give you this video and 1 in 2 weeks, and then we're going to expand on those in the webinar on March 6th. So we're going to give you an introduction here. And Mastering Communication Academy, what is that? Professional communication training that transforms even more people from limitation into an empowered action for life. How long? That's right, that's for life. Why? Because that's the principle of chiropractic. So on March 6th, the theme of the webinar is going to be their objections are not real. What's that mean? We're going to identify the underlying emotion of why people have those beliefs. Remember, a lot of objections are just beliefs. If we go back to the webinar on February 6th, we expand on this a lot. So go back to that one. It'll be you can click on the page, Mastering Communication Academy, and listen to that, because every week sets a foundation for the following week. How cool is that? Okay, so this series, their objections are not real. We're going to identify the underlying emotion. So what we're going to cover today is we're going to go through rules. How do people establish rules? Belief systems that establish rules. Now, what we're going to go over are 6 steps to regain influence in relationships. A lifetime patient is really a lifetime relationship. This is all relationship building skills. Now, this tool, 6 steps, I learned from Strategic Intervention. That's Tony Robbins' coaching program, and it's been phenomenal. We go through this way more extensively in the boot camps, and it will teach you how to regain influence in any relationship, not only a relationship with yourself, but with your spouse, with your kids, with friends, with patients. The tools you're learning on mastering communication. No, it's not saying mastering chiropractic, right? It's mastering communication can be applied to anything in life, and most importantly, yourself. Okay, ready? So people form rules. So let's go through this real quick. If we look at dynamics of human behavior, let's use the metaphor of a caveman. Hey, if caveman's out there, he's got to fight a bunch of dinosaurs. When he's there by himself, he's on survival, right? And so really then what humans do, the next level is they get in groups. Why? Because groups have protection. There's power in groups, and we like relationships. That's part of being human. Now the next thing is there has to be rules in that group, otherwise we have chaos. So a leader emerges, and then we establish rules. That could be like religion, it's why we have laws, we have rules. Then an entrepreneur arises who changes those rules, and maybe they go out and form their own tribe, and it goes all the way up into enlightenment. So right now we're focusing on rules. People establish rules so they can have safety, they have something known, it's a strong foundation, and it's predictable. Right? One of the primary needs, 6 human needs, the first one is certainty. Another word for certainty is safety. Rules provide order, organization, and safety. So people establish rules based on their emotional decisions. So what would be an example? Well, I always think about something for 24 hours, right? So we go through 4 qualities that make a decision powerful. Hey, it's something in the past, under an urgent condition. Go back to the last webinar. So the bottom line is they had an emotional situation, they made a decision, and because it brought them safety and security, they now made it a rule. Does that make sense? So what happens is, I have to think about something for 24 hours. Why? They ran into a decision or a situation where they may have bought something they shouldn't have bought. They trusted somebody they shouldn't have trusted. Maybe they buy things on emotion and then later realize it's the wrong thing. So basically you would ask them a question. What's the default question on the last webinar? Gee, Mr. Jones, I'm sure you have a reason. Would you mind sharing it with me? That's another way of saying, why do you think that? Why did you establish that? It's the most basic default question to find out what that rule is. So we go through 6 steps. Then really, step 1 is we have to understand their world. What is that rule? Right? What's your world like? What rules do you live by? So now they usually blurt that out. Hey, you know what? I need to think about it for 24 hours. There's tons of rules. That's one example. The next step what has to happen for you to live by those rules? So another example might be in a relationship. Let's say someone was cheated on because, I found a text, and it was because of that text and the email that now I discovered you were having an affair. So what is their rule? I'm always going to check texts of my partner. Now you get in this relationship, it's like, why are you checking my phone and my email? Because it was based on a past condition, right? So what has to happen? Hey, we'll understand the world. You know what? Here's how I discovered it. Now it's a rule. Now what has to happen? Hey, I'm checking your phone, right? Now we say, okay, what are the chances that you're always going to see that rule? What's the chance that rule is going to work? What about I have to think about it for 24 hours? So that's my rule. Why? Because I had these decisions, right? Now what has to happen? Well, I need to step away. I need to think about it for 24 hours. Now what's the probability that's going to happen? So what you do is you find the exception. So what would be an exception? Well, I have to think about it for 24 hours. I'll care of my wife. So does that happen every time? Does that rule work every time? Now, depending where you are geographically, if, let's say there's a big winter storm or there's a hurricane, what do people do? They evacuate, or they have to go buy a bunch of water. People just buy all the stuff off the grocery shelf. So if this big storm was coming and you couldn't get out of your house, would you go buy and stock up on food? Well, yeah, of course I would do that. Or no, we already have food, right? Would you buy water? What would you do? Right? Well, would you think about that for 24 hours? Well, heck no. Oh, so that rule doesn't apply in every situation. So what you do is you find the exception to that rule. Because there's no way a rule applies 100% of the time, yet they try and exercise it 100% of the time. So what you're helping people realize is that rule may not apply right now. It could actually become a detriment. Right? And so hey, we understand the world. We know what the rule is. What has to happen for that rule to be? What are the chances that you're going to see that? Is that going to happen every time? Right? So if there's exceptions, is that blueprint really working for you in every situation? Because how would a wife feel if she's like, I'm sick, you say, Ms. Jones, let's say the husband, I got to think about it. Ms. Jones, you believe you have a condition breaking your health down? You believe it's getting worse every day? Ms. Jones, you believe the same thing? So do you have to think about for 24 hours whether or not you want your wife healthy? Well, of course not. Exactly. That's why you're here. See the best in them and talk about it. So you already know you want to be healthy. I'm just curious. Do you know this is the program that's going to help her get better? Have you ever seen a program like this? Do you know this is unique? Do you believe this is the answer? Yes, and we showed you the stress x-ray, so you know it can work. So what do you have to think about? Right? So in this case, if you have to think about, do you have to think about whether your wife has to be healthy? No. Ms. Jones, are you ready to commit to make your health better? Yes. Ms. Jones, I know you're here to support your wife 100%. See, now, applying that rule doesn't make her feel very good. So this is where we don't want to create a problem in their marriage. You're actually doing marriage counseling and financial. Because when that husband supports her, she's going to feel better, right? So what's step one? Understand what the rule is. Step two, what has to happen? Step three, what are the chances you're going to see that? Step four, is that going to work for you every time? Step five, what's the trigger? The trigger is, what happened in the past where you made that rule? Because then they see, well, I made a general belief, right? In other words, I have this one rule and just blankets everything. That doesn't always work. In fact, it can cause problems, which is the next step. What consequences are happening because of this rule? Now, here's the thing, in a financial, you think, wow, that's a lot of stuff. Not really. This can happen in 60 seconds or a minute and a half. So what you're learning is this doesn't take more time. In fact, it takes less time. You're just saying different things as opposed to trying to give information that doesn't always negate an emotionally rooted belief. So thank you, Tony Robbins and Strategic Intervention, for giving us this structure, because this is how you get people through belief systems. Their objections are not real. See, when you have great conviction and you realize, oh, that's just a rule, it's not real, I just want to make sure it doesn't sabotage other areas of their life, and then you have 6 steps. So let's go through them one more time, right? First, you establish the rule. What has to happen for that rule to be in place? What are the chances they're going to see that 1,000% of the time, 100% of the time? Hey, so if you're not going to see it, does it really work for you in every situation? Now, what happened? How did you form that rule? And now, are there actually consequences in your life? Let's look at something personal. Again, this hypothetical, right? Hey, you know what? Somebody cheated on me. I found it in text. So what has to happen? In every relationship, I check text. Yeah, that's going to work. But anyway, step 3, what are the chances that you're going to see that? Well, if I check it, that's fine. You know, hey, I might not. 4, how's that blueprint really working? Well, we get in fights about it. Is it really working? No. What caused that? Oh, I can see where I started that pattern in emotional decision. What makes an emotional decision strong? Under an urgent condition, right? So they repeat things because it got them to safety under an uncertain condition. Remember, what's the primary need? Certainty. So under an uncertain condition, it brought them safety, even though they didn't like the way it felt, right? Now, what are the consequences? Well, it causes problems in a relationship, and now my partner left me because I'm jealous all the time, right? So you could see how decisions become beliefs that then become rules. And when people have rules, those rules can actually sabotage their success. So we're going to go into this in way more detail. Get this down. We're going over it on March 6th. The subscription starts. Hey, for $39 a month, you're going to learn, you're going to create a whole library of really cool stuff. Send this to at least 10 people because this is a game changer. All right, gang. Thank you.